You guys will join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I'll lead tonight. I don't do that. I usually call somebody, so. The Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, I'd like to call the September 8th, 2020 City Council meeting to order. First item of business is approval of minutes from the August 25th, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman James, seconded by Councilwoman Camp to approve the August 25th, 2020 meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Up next is the approval of the August 2020 bills.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the bills in the amount of $1,085,582.72.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Boyer, seconded by Councilman James to approve the August 2020 bills in the amount of $1,085,582.72. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Up next is the approval of the agenda, and council, Heather, you had, I'm sorry, you didn't. Gina, you had a request for that. Do we want to, Peter, do we want to add that on the agenda, or just a talking point for discussion about, I think Councilman Hess had some updates on CML guidance or guidelines?
Right, and I think Councilman Hess is actually, aren't you looking for some pretty definitive guidance on items that you're looking at future legislative action from CML's policy committee?
Yeah, I have a survey that they want me to fill out to submit policy ideas, so I'd like to have that discussion.
Yeah, this is a little different than just looking for guidance on supporting or refuting a particular bill that's being introduced.
Okay.
I think you might actually have a council action associated with supporting these initiatives.
Okay, so I'm guessing it would be appropriate to get it added to the agenda now then? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, okay,
9C, maybe?
yeah. So, council, is that enough direction? That would be under other business, probably 9C, is that what you were recommending?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion was, thank you, sir.
CML policy
Discussion.
discussion, yeah.
Okay, motion was made by Councilman Nichols, seconded by Councilman Boyer to approve the agenda with the addition of item 9C, which is discussion of CML policies.
Position.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Heather, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You're like, I didn't ask for that. Couldn't remember. Sorry, his emails just fly in there. Okay, up next is going to be public comment, and I will mention to everyone out there first, we try to take any comments we might have from the virtual world. Then we'll ask anyone in the audience who has a comment who would like to step up. If you please do, please give us your address and state your name. That being said, I will look to Gina and Bruce to see if they have anything. They're saying no. So anyone in the audience that would like to talk to us about anything that is city-related business or otherwise, I guess.
Hi, good evening. I'm Amy Peck with Memorial Regional Health.
I'm Staten Mosby, EMS Supervisor Paramedic with Memorial Regional Health.
We just wanted to give you a quick update on our mill levy proposal for the 2021 election and just let you know what we're doing. Our goal is to keep coming to meetings and public commentary, spend about 5 minutes just keeping you updated and posted on what our plan is. Go ahead, Stephen.
So,
Raise the microphone up.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Maybe. So we've met with Maybell Ambulance and Artesia separately. We engaged with Maybell, and they're interested in engaging with us as well and working towards that formation of the district and just looking to see how that works. Artesia was very enthusiastic. Of course, they've been really struggling in Artesia with EMS district, with EMS coverage out in their fire protection district. So both of them were very engaged and interested in working with us to form a formal district and get that rolling.
We've also met with Paul Weiser, who is an attorney who helps to advise you on how to get get a mill levy onto the ballot and the processes that we need to go through, and he's been providing a little bit of guidance on that. And we also met with the Catalyst to Public Affairs. They're a campaign manager group. They were recommended by the Small Business Association that several of you had recommended that we contact. Christy Pollard is one of their big managers and has done a lot of work in some of the bigger arenas. But she's actually from not Northwest Colorado, but from Grand Junction. And so she is very well acclimated with this area and some of the challenges that we have in this side of the world. So she's been a great resource so far, and we're now working on making sure that we stay within that budget that we were granted. Other than that, I think that's about it. Do you have any questions for us?
No? Thanks for the
Very
update.
much. We
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go to presentations. We have two tonight. The first one is item 6A, and that's Mr. Jerry Hoberg, manager for the Craig Moffett County Airport, will present to the council the 2021 Craig Moffett County Airport budget.
Good evening. You have your papers in front of you, up on the screen there. So let's take a look at the revenues first. As you can see, the sales tax and the excise tax, that's money that the airport gets from the state. It's a tax on any fuel sold within Moffett County by the Tuckers, and then that goes to the state, and then they give us a kickback that to help with the revenues at the airport. You can see in 2018, they were both about $14,188. That was a very good or bad fire year, depending on how you want to look at it. Good for us, but bad for everybody else because there was a lot of fires. That was the year we had 6 seats on the ground. They were flying just about every night. 2019, we didn't hardly have a fire season at all. And so it's not only they make up a big share of the money, but it's also Tri-State that comes in, local pilots that buy fuel, other people that are passing through that purchase fuel. So you can go look in 2020 budget. What I put down, the estimates are low because of COVID. Tri-State, I've seen Tri-State twice in the last 4 months, and they're usually there 2 or 3 times a week. They're just doing stuff, as we all are, through video or Zoom, and they're just not bringing their people in. And we're not seeing a lot of other people just flying around. So Tuckers will keep us as best they can with their business, but that's just kind of the average, and we should see a little bit of an uptick because we've had a pretty above average fire season this year. The big crane helicopters were in early, and then we've had 4 seats on the ground for the last month and a half. I think today might have pretty well put a stop to everything, though. There was nobody out there today other than their equipment, so I think they're getting ready to go home. So that's how we get the sales tax and the excise tax. So I just budgeted the same in 2021 as in 2020. If we have a better fire year next year, it could go up. The next is all the grants, and we have not, even though the airport gets $150,000 a year from the FAA, if we don't have a project lined up, we give that money to another small airport. And we've been doing that for several years now because our last project, one of them was putting in the new lighting, and we're saving up now to do a pretty good crack seal overlay on the runway, and then a couple years later, we're gonna probably get that pushed back and just wait, and we're just gonna take off the whole 6 inches of the airport and relay everything, which is new marking and stuff. It's very expensive. So at that point, we get our 150,000, but then we draw money from other airports into our airport so we can do that project because it's very expensive. So you're not going to see any revenue coming in from the federal grant or state grant. The City of Craig revenue, the 56,537, that's half the airport budget. And we'll look at expenditures on the next page. You can also see that at the bottom, the second line up from the bottom, that's the same that the county will put in, the 56,537. So we pay for half. Interest earned, that's interest earned on the money that's in the airport fund. I don't have that figure right off the top of my head, but there is a airport fund within the county that has money in it, so that's interest earned on that. So if you want to take a look at the next page, our expenditures. Expenditures, they jumped a little bit from 2019 to 2020 because the commissioners gave a percentage raise to all the employees. So all of my salary and stuff went up. And then that's only the half time of mine because I only work out there half time. So you're basically paying a quarter of that, and the county's paying the other quarter. Professional services other, you'll see where that took a pretty good jump. This year alone, by middle of March, I was out of funding for plowing. We had a very bad winter. They were out there just about every other day trying to keep the runway open. So that when the commissioners met for their budget, they met with myself. They also met with Dan Miller at a separate time. And then they decided that they wanted to up that so that we didn't have to try to borrow from the airport fund or try to tell Road and Bridge, we're not going to pay you, because they depend on that kind of money other than their HUTF. So other than that, the only change is down there on improvements. We did a full crack seal. The county came out and did a crack seal on the runway, and so we spent 10,200. Well, we're estimating we're going to spend 10,239. That's for that crack seal. 90% of that is kicked back by the state. So when I buy the stuff, the crack seal, I went out, I bought it from a company in Utah. It got delivered. Then I applied to the state, and they will pay for 95% of that, just so the runway's in pretty good shape. Other than that, the budget, and then from 2020, that budget of 5,000 that jumped up to an estimate of spending of 10,239. It's dropping back down to 5,000. That's all I'm going to ask for. When we do have a major project, we have to come up with a match. So I'm believing it's 2023 is when that big project's going to come down for us. So then we're going to have to ask for more match money. We match it at 5%, 2.5% from the city, 2.5% from the county. We also get a match from the state, and then we get all that federal money. But we do have to come up with a match then. So in a couple of years, I'm going to be coming to you and asking you for more money to do that project. The Airport Advisory Board is aware of that, and we're looking at ways of maybe even getting that pushed back because there's some other issues out there that we might have to do some adjustments to the runway. But we'll see where that goes. Other than that, unless you had any questions.
Council?
Jerry, I just had a question about the plowing. You actually have to pay the county
Yes,
man-hour for the time they're plowing?
man-hour and equipment.
Really? So county airport, they own half, and you're paying them, okay. Well, that's just a way to get $18,000 more out of the city, really, if you look at it. covering half that cost. What is the future expansion there of the seat base? I understand that they're signing long-term contracts, or?
They, after, last year, they pulled our seat base. Well, basically, they made it, hard for Tuckers to bid on it because they put all the liability on the FBO that's running the seat base. So, basically they said if there's any spillage, if this, product, if you don't use it and it hardens in the tanks, you basically have to cut the tanks in half and, use a jackhammer to get that stuff out. And, so Tucker said, we're not gonna bid on it. And so we weren't sure, we weren't even thinking we were gonna get that seat base. And then there was a little bit of campaigning from, the FAA and from the commissioners to try to get that back because it does help the economy of Craig. These pilots come in, they have to find a place to stay in town, they have to eat in town, they have to buy regular gasoline in town, not their jet fuel and stuff. Plus, when it's here, we do get that excise and sales tax on that fuel that they burn. So I'm not exactly sure if it's a 3 or a 5 year contract, but everything went smoothly this year, so I see no reason for why they wouldn't come back. Otherwise, it's a concern for the county because if we have a fire on private land in the county, we have to fly a seat up from Rifle. And number one, it doubles your fly time, plus it doubles your basically your man hour and equipment time that the county, and of course it's part of the firefighting, they're gonna have to pay for that. So we would like to have the seat base here. We basically cover southern Wyoming, eastern Utah, and pretty much this area. A lot of these pilots that were on this last fire were flying, some of them down to Junction. We didn't have that many fires in Moffett County this year, which again is good, but they put a lot of time in on that Junction fire. I believe they were down on, there was another fire down by Meeker that they went on. I don't think they went to the one up by Walden, but I don't attend their briefings and stuff. I don't know where they go. Just the fact that they're here.
So the only revenue that the airport gets is the excise tax on the fuel?
Yes, and the leases for the hangars. Everybody, Tucker's included, they pay a lease on that hangar. They pay a ground lease. It's a 20-year contract with an additional 20. And so we have.
I meant from the seat base. They don't, it's a private contractor now.
That's correct. Okay, I'm sorry,
So
yeah.
you don't get any revenue from them?
Just off of the fuel.
Just the fuel? Okay.
Yep. And they built the helipads for us. BLM did.
Cool, thanks.
Anything else, council? No? Thank you, sir.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
thank you.
And it's a little cold out there for, you know.
All right, up next is item 6B. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize ahead of time, but Jacob Kordich, Business Development Manager for Wildan Performance Engineering, will present to council information regarding Wildan, a turnkey approach to capital improvements and energy efficiency projects.
Spot on pronunciation.
Okay.
Great. If I talk too fast, tell me to slow down, please. And if I talk too long, just tell me to shut up. But I want to thank the city of Craig for having me today. I've been meeting with Peter for the past couple of months here and there, and I figured it'd be timely as you start to look at your budget to explain our services to the rest of your organization. And so we are Wildan Performance Engineering, and my name is Jacob Kordich. Yeah, so I have the clicker. So today I'm going to be talking about why Wildan, our turnkey delivery, our relevant experience in projects relevant to Craig, our key next steps, and the Wildan difference. So starting with why Wildan, we're a full-service design build and construction management firm out of Denver, and our main bread and butter clientele is school districts and city and county governments, more recently healthcare as well. And we believe we provide a construction delivery model that mitigates the risks and headaches inherent to the traditional project delivery approach. So here's our division strength. I'm trying to pull this mic a little closer. Here's our division strength. As I said, we mainly specialize in energy performance contracting and design build projects. We are all Colorado licensed professionals with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and civil engineers, as well as professional construction management in-house. We also specialize in commissioning, renewable energy systems and sustainability planning, facilities master planning, and project economics and financing, which is always a major component and a big thing that a lot of entities struggle with is financing these projects. So as I mentioned, mechanical, electrical, civil, and commissioning engineers. And let's move on here. So I wanted to highlight too the traditional construction delivery model versus our approach. And so with the traditional model, it's typically a very narrow scope of work in a construction contract. There's often multiple contracts, as well as a lot of finger pointing because of change orders and very narrow segmented project delivery, versus this is our approach. And so we're looking for a long-term solution, holistic engineering and efficiency solutions. Three big things I wanted to hit on is that we are vendor and product independent. So we do a very unbiased evaluation of your facility. So we're not trying to sell you any sort of project, just our services and our skills. This is a big one, 100% design before construction. So typically with your traditional project delivery, it's limited design and then construction and full design isn't until after that. That is what results in a lot of the finger pointing and change orders, and we eliminate that with the full design beforehand. And as I said, we are a single source of accountability and we're vertically integrated. And so there's one contract from start to finish of a project. That's from full design through the construction management and commissioning. You're dealing with one contract, one source of accountability, myself and our company. So I wanted to just give you an example too of different alternative project delivery methods, some of which I'm sure you're very familiar with. And I want to start off by saying these all do provide value in certain ways, but as a project starts to grow in size and scope, you can easily eliminate some of these for being relevant. So obviously, the vendor project is a pretty basic one everyone knows about. One brand, very limited design, low bids, and there's no sort of savings guarantee, anything like that. Design bid build is also another one that I'm sure everyone's familiar with. It's becoming a little bit outdated, but at least with design bid build, you have 100% system design at some point. With traditional performance contracting, which is something a lot of our competitors do use, energy performance contracting, there is at least a financial solution and there's a guarantee, but a lot of times it's at the client's expense. The one thing they are missing in this approach though is the design is after the pricing, which I mentioned can create a lot of issues. So here's our approach, financial solution that we provide on the performance guarantee. There's a single source of accountability with our company in one contract and the 100% design before pricing. So just to wrap it up again, our DNA is that of a design-first, engineering-centric firm, which is where we provide our value. We are a Colorado-based team. We focus on Colorado rural and western slope communities, and just hitting on the big things I talked about again up here. So I kind of just wanted to go over the 4 steps of our turnkey delivery approach really quick. And so it starts with our planning and analysis, design and final pricing, project implementation, and then the performance maximization. And so we have different names for all of these, but I wanted to highlight there's continuous engineering involvement throughout this whole thing, same engineers. So the first phase and the first step in our process is the preliminary engineering audit. I want to start off by saying first and foremost that this is absolutely no cost to the owner, besides our time and our resources, of course. But we essentially do a holistic and thorough investigation of your facilities. That is led by our engineering and construction managers. So we come in and we look at every parts of your buildings. That's an in-depth utility analysis. We look at code compliance, your building envelope, all of your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, as well as your site investigation and make sure your site's up to date. And we use all of these aspects to develop a long-term strategic plan, and it provides some context for your project implementation. And so we would come back to you with this prelim audit, with a report that's going to show not only an assessment of your current conditions, but it's also going to give recommendations as to what we feel is your biggest priorities and what you should look at as your major things that you need to fix or improve on. And we also provide cost estimates at this stage. So once again, that whole thing is at no cost to our client. And if you decide you want to move forward with that, the second step is our investment grade audit. So this is essentially a design services agreement. And at this point, we provide 100% construction documents to subcontractors. Let me take a step back for a sec. So with this design services agreement, we use all the info from the prelim audit to make a collaborative, to move forward collaboratively with a project that we want to pursue with our clients. And so we provide 100% construction design documents, as I mentioned, to our contractors. And we are able to solicit competitive contractor pricing with these because they're given a very accurate idea of what the design of the project should be. So like I said, there's no change orders, anything like that, and they can give a much more accurate bid on the pricing. And we finish this with at this point, we provide a construction contract to a client. And before they sign it, we give a guaranteed maximum price of what a project is going to cost, as well as no change orders and full accountability. You decide all of this before you sign anything. So a couple of things I just wanted to highlight in our investment grade audit process. As mentioned, there's our system design, whereas in the traditional model here, you have your limited system design way down here after a construction contract is signed. So it's all a bit flip-flopped with how we deliver. So at this point, once those documents are signed, the construction manager takes over at this point with, like I said, a fixed price, no change order contract. He is on site at all times. He or she is on site at all times. We have weekly or bi-weekly meetings with the owner and the contractors at this point. And once the construction is complete, as our fourth step, we stick around for about a year or two after the project is complete for project support and owner training. So we can pass it along to the owners efficiently and they understand. So here's our relevant experience to the city of Craig. Our first project we did, Kit Carson County, $2.1 million project. We secured a $960,000 DOLA grant. And with this, we gave them new HVAC systems, LED lighting replacement. I'll just highlight a couple of these: window replacements, electrical infrastructure upgrades. And then the second one, which is Pueblo School District 70, we're actually about to be in phase 2 of that right now. They're going for a bond this November. But in phase 1, we did an energy performance contract with them. That was a $14 million project. This grant funding was actually a BEST grant that we just secured this past February, this past cycle, that I wrote personally. We got them about $3.7 million in BEST grant funding from the state. And the energy performance contract, I was able to dig this number up from the first phase of the project, is already saving them just shy of $1 million a year. And so the EPC projects on the one side here that we did were lighting upgrades, as well as optimization of controls and retro commissioning for their current HVAC systems. But there's also site-specific measures that we did: ceiling replacements, new HVAC systems in some areas, as well as new boilers, electrical upgrades, and emergency power sources. And then one third one I just wanted to talk about real quick, because it's a lot closer to Craig, is Garfield District 2, which we just did an energy audit for them about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And their main focus was to have us look at their roofs. And when we went in there, we're now looking at the bigger picture and finding ways that they can offset the costs of roof replacements with lighting, as well as HVAC upgrades, retro commissioning to their current HVAC controls to make them more efficient. So we are in the process of providing the results of that prelim audit to Garfield in the next month or two. There we go. So key next steps, and I'm going to highlight this timeline is a little off. So fast forward everything by about a month. So for the city of Craig, for example, if we were to come in and do a prelim in September, it would probably be ready by November with all those results for you. And then the IGA takes another 3 months. So you'd be looking at January, February for the IGA to be completed, and we would enter a construction contract by about March or April. So once again, just to summarize everything, this is the Willdan difference that I wanted to highlight, 6 components. Our performance guarantee, our engineering-centric approach, the expert project team that we have, turnkey delivery approach from start to finish, one contract, vendor and product independence, and the ongoing validation and support once a project is complete. And does anybody have any questions for me?
Council?
Did I hear you say you wrote the grant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's part of your services in the contract?
Yes, sir.
And then no change orders. You mentioned that several times. I don't know any construction project you can go through with no change orders.
Well, I'll put it this way: if there is, we eat the cost of it. So it's a guaranteed maximum price that you see, and you don't pay anything higher than that.
Okay.
And so it's no change orders to you.
Okay.
So basically, it's a complete physical assessment of all facilities.
Yep.
And then anywhere you can try, like you mentioned, windows, AC,
Yep.
ventilation, lighting, so on and so forth.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, that would include all, like if the city was interested in this, that would include all our facilities? I mean,
If you wanted us to, it's whatever you want us to.
okay, got it.
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to mention with the grant writing is we also help write, like I said, master plans to go along with that. BEST requires a master plan to be submitted with the grant.
Most grants to be successful need a master plan.
Yep, that's
Yep.
very true.
Right. Council, anything else? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Okay, up next is the consent agenda. We have 2 items. A lot of times we lump these together, but they look a little different tonight, one from the other. So we'll start with 7A, and that would be approval of a special events permit for the Downtown Business Association for an event to take place on September 26, 2020 at Alice Pleasant Park. And I'm assuming that is why Ms. Dildine is back there. Please step up here. Give us a brief synopsis of what it is you'd like to do. Nothing else for advertisement.
So, Oktoberfest, this is our 4th year, I believe,
Yeah,
for
right.
Oktoberfest. It's going to look a little bit different. We'll have live music. The music's coming from Fruta, actually, so it's different music than we've had before. And then if you look at our Facebook event page, it'll have like who it is, because I can't really tell you. I can't remember the name, which is awful for me. But there's like 3 different bands from the same production company, kind of. Beer garden is what we're asking for. So, and then food trucks. We have like 3 of them that have committed so far. We're looking at maybe 2 more, so maybe a total of 5. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And then the other thing that's different this year is no vendors, like no craft vendors. We're wanting to do more activities. The last 2 years has not have been a very good vendor event, because the year before it rained. It was cold, it was rainy. And then last year, it was so windy that we had a couple of vendors just leave because they just couldn't keep their merchandise, from blowing away or whatever. So they just kind of left. But so because of just like today, 90-degree weather yesterday and, raining cold snow today, just a bad time for weather. You just don't know what it's going to do. So I decided let's just do activities. So it's a nonprofit group activities. You can do pretty much whatever activity you want to. You have to do an activity. You can charge for it if you want to, or you can do it for free, however you want to do it. But you just have to do an activity. You can give out information if you want to, as long as you have an activity to do. So. And then we are going to have Colorado Cruisers are going to bring about 10 cars, I think. Yeah, about 10 cars or so. So we'll have that also.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So changing from vendors to activities for no reason that it has anything to do with COVID.
Nope.
That's so refreshing to hear. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, we had the idea last year. We talked about it at our DBA meeting. I just brought it up. I said it's so hard to do vendors for this event because you just don't know what the weather's going to be like. So
Absolutely.
I don't want them to have to pay to be there and not make any money. I think that was really what it comes down to.
Sure.
We're not charging the groups to do an activity. It's you just come in and set it up. And like I said, you can charge if you want to, or you don't have to. If you just want it to be completely free, that's fine too. However you want to run it.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing.
Council, what would be your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve a special events permit for Downtown Business Association for September 26th, Alice Pleasant Park.
Second.
All right. Motion was made by Councilman Nichols, seconded by Councilman James to approve the permit, special events permit for the Downtown Business Association for an event to take place September 26, 2020 at Alice Pleasant Park. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Guys,
What time does it start?
10.
10.
10 to 5.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we put that?
Okay, up next is item 7B, and that's approval of renewal for a hotel and restaurant liquor license for Kona Corp. DBA as Geno's located at 572 Bree Street. Craig, no cause shown for denial. Council? I didn't see anybody here. No, okay, just making sure.
You want me to?
Don't everybody go at once.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal for Geno's. No cause shown for denial.
Second.
All right. For my very active council tonight, Councilman Nichols made a motion to approve, and Councilman James seconded the renewal for a hotel and restaurant liquor license for Kona Corp. DBA as Geno's, located at 572 Bree Street. Craig, no cause shown for denial. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right. We have no public hearing, so we're going to move into other business. Item 9A is approval of low bid to purchase 2,260 feet of 6-inch pipe from East Highway 40, for East Highway 40, water main replacement emergency project from Core and Main in the amount of $11,978. Mark?
As you remember, in the last meeting, I kind of gave you the heads up that if the main blew again, we'd probably be coming to you. It did. Within the last 2 weeks, we had a 6-inch break on the bottom of the pipe, another couple hundred feet up the road. So before it goes again, and there's a lot of nice green grass up there that worries me that there might be some more little leaks further up, we decided we're going to attack this year. So we solicited 3 bids. Luckily, we got these bids in now because of the hurricane that hit. I heard that the pipe prices are going up, so we can lock this number in from Core and Main for 30 days from the day of the quote. So it's I guess a win-win in that aspect, money-wise.
No pressure, council.
No pressure, no pressure. There's going to be a few fittings that we don't have included in here, but we're going to use that out of stock, and we'll just replace it in kind when we get to it. We just don't know what we're going to run into as we go up and tie in. But we have enough stock 6-inch fittings that we should be able to do it. A few more $1,000 for the whole project, depending on, what we don't have to worry about road base because it's all in the dirt. We don't have to worry about asphalt, so.
And doing it all in-house, right?
Doing all in-house, that's the intent, Rice. Other than borrowing a track hoe from
County.
County, yeah.
That's right, okay. Sounds like they're trying to make up for that in the airport budget.
So like I said, Core and Main was a low bid. He had I have attached all the other bids with it. Like I said, that's going with the low bid.
Okay, any questions for Mark? Hearing none, and entertain a motion. I'm just writing you down.
You want to write me down?
Yeah, I got it.
I recommend to award the bid to Core and Main for $11,978.00.
Second.
So the motion was made, surprisingly enough, by Councilman Nichols. Seconded.
All right, that's my last one.
Seconded by Councilman Boyer, to approve the bid from Core and Main in the amount of $11,978 for 2,260 feet of 6-inch water pipe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for that foresight, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You warned us.
Up next, item 9B, and that is an approval of the reappointment of Justin Jennison and Victor Updike for another 4-year term on the Board of Appeals for the Community Development Department.
Marlon's on vacation this week, so
Okay.
both of these gentlemen have indicated they'd like to continue serving. Board of Appeals doesn't meet very often, but it looks like they might have a meeting coming up, so just trying to get things back in order.
Sure. And as I've always said, and it's hard to find volunteers for a lot of stuff, so if they're willing to step up, and I know that construction is at their forethought, and they take it seriously, so I appreciate their service and help. Council, what would be your,
I'll move that we make a motion to reapprove Justin Jennison and Victor Updike for another 4-year term on the Board of Appeals for the Community Development Department.
Second.
sorry, I had to figure out what your initials were for a second. I haven't heard you all night, sorry. Okay, so the motion was made by Councilman Boyer, seconded by Councilman Hess, to approve the reappointment of Justin Jennison and Victor Updike for another 4-year term on the Board of Appeals for the Community Development Department. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council.
And Peter, I'm supposedly the council representative on that, and I get notice of the meeting. I've never had a meeting yet, so.
Yeah. I did speak with Marlon. Peter alluded to the fact that we might have something coming up. I know he'll.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we've scheduled that
No.
just yet, but yeah.
But he did say that he would make sure to notify us.
Good.
Okay, so up next is item 9C. That was from our amended agenda at the beginning. And Councilman Hess, I'll just turn that over to you.
Sure. So CML, the policy position, they've asked for a survey where if there is a policy position that the cities would like to submit that is basically the groupthink of the city or proposed legislation, they have a portal that we can submit that to for general consideration within CML. So in order to kind of host with open record laws, I figured we'd have that discussion here instead of doing chain calls where I call everybody. One of the things I was thinking about submitting was a recommended change to the Colorado Constitution to allow local government to give limited purpose grants to local businesses for economic development purpose. That's one thing that has come up. It's something that other communities are also struggling with. In essence, we have a bunch of cities that are doing a workaround to get around a constitutional provision that was passed in kind of archaic times where you had a city councilman that had a brother that owned a business and they were basically giving money away to businesses. That's not necessarily the case anymore, and there's other protections that can be in place. So that was one of the policy positions that I was looking at proposing to send through that portal, and I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on that.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So the Colorado Constitution currently prohibits any local government from giving money to a business entity
All right.
for any purpose. Yet there are communities across the state that do like we do, that have economic development grants, that they in essence have to rewrite ordinances and stuff to work around a constitutional provision that was passed a fairly long time ago. It's one of those things where people are just figuring out a way to work around it, so might as well just change it to allow people to do what they're going to do. There are still other provisions that you can't just basically take all of your community budget and give it away to somebody.
Right.
But there are ways to fashion legislation to where it can be limited specifically towards economic development, such as redoing the front of commercial property or revamping particular areas that are blighted neighborhoods, those type of things where you can give community monies to a private entity. Right now, you just have to show that's for a public purpose. I think there's ways that they could change it to make it more user-friendly.
Thanks, Ryan.
We could probably, could I interject something here? We
Please.
could probably discuss this based on previous opinion that was rendered that said that we were, based on a Supreme Court decision that we were doing we were following the guidelines of the Supreme Court decision, and so we were in good stead. Heather has recently reviewed that and thinks that there's a little bit of fuzziness to that, and so what Ryan's hoping to correct is the constitutional aspect of that. And I'm not sure how you do that legislatively, but
They'd have to put a referendum it would go to the vote of the people to change the constitutional provision.
Yeah.
But it's in essence changing some of the wording that talks about, the way the amendment is written prohibits, it doesn't even say you can do it for a public purpose. That's just a Supreme Court opinion that says that's so. So if you amend the Constitution to say that public government can give limited purpose funds for public purpose community development, I believe that gives an avenue for local government to do that. As of right now, there's really, the only avenue is working within that Supreme Court decision.
So in essence, just trying to clarify or clear up blurred lines
Correct.
to make sure that like programs like our business grant
Yes.
is done correctly.
Yeah, and there's other communities doing the same thing.
Sure.
What they're doing is they're using state fund, they're using other taxpayer funds to do the same thing, or they're deeming stuff within a public purpose. But if there was a minor change to the way that's written, then any local government could, like during COVID, could grant that money away to help businesses where, as of right now, the way it's written, it's quite blurry
Okay.
on whether or not you can do that.
Didn't we have the discussion when this first came up after Sherman left that Heather thought we could do the same by ordinance or local ordinance?
Is that,
Right, just basically defining what public purpose is. And Peter and I have discussed that. We just need to sit down and hammer out the details of what everyone wants included, so we make sure we cover everything.
And I think that might be more successful than amending the Constitution. so.
potentially?
Well, it gets you by until something like the anti-appropriation clause may or may not be
Right.
Okay.
amended or eliminated, correct?
Yeah, the problem is that's a Supreme Court decision that interprets the current provision. So that at any time could change. If they were to write the amendment to reflect what the Supreme Court says, it would align better than with what local government is currently trying to do with economic development. So
Right, because right now there's an absolute, in the Constitution, there's an absolute prohibition against appropriating funds to any business from a government. And then what the Supreme Court did in, gosh, looks like it was in Romer, yeah, but it was years and years ago, and it had to do with United Airlines coming into Denver. That just basically put a spin on the Constitution that basically prohibited under all circumstances. So what Ryan's saying is align it with what folks are already doing and have been doing since in Ray Romer, and try to get things to be more consistent instead of working around the problem.
Why
they've been
not?
doing-
Yeah.
they've been doing since
I
the,
think
what, the
we
80s?
should go and try to clean it up and,
And CML's taking this.
Yeah,
You're
it's a
just presenting-
proposal
they're
to
the
them
one-
Right.
about.
and
It's
they
probably
have
something
to
that's been
endorse
oppose-
it, right, and adopt it at the policy committee, right?
Correct, because it's something that everybody that's a member of that is doing it. It's just that there becomes a point where everybody's doing something, then you just change the law to reflect what everybody's doing so that it's 100% legal instead of on bought time with the Supreme Court decision.
And there's been subsequent cases following in Ray Romer that basically enforce the Romer decision. So like Fisher versus the City of Colorado Springs, they went on to take it a step further and say things like grant recipients should provide something more than just negligible consideration when awarding those grants to folks. So the reason there would be an argument for what Ryan is proposing is because they've even taken it a step further, and there's other cases that enforce that decision.
So Heather, what I'm hearing then I think is that you are in agreement
I think
From-
it would make your life easier.
From your position? Sure, okay. I just, yeah, just clean it up for me and say, yeah, let's do this. Thank you.
Thumbs up.
Awesome. Okay. Council, do we need, are you looking for a decision on this tonight?
No, I
guess?
think it's just a discussion.
You're just, okay.
Yeah.
Something you'll bring to us and,
What it says
You
is
don't
if-
need action, no.
well, if they
Okay.
pick up your idea, you have to come to them with backing that it was a city idea, not just an individual idea.
Sure.
So that's
okay,
good enough for me.
You can exclude me from that one.
okay.
I'm gonna name it.
We're gonna put
Paul
you as a
James-
thumbs down.
Yeah,
Paul
no,
James Amendment?
definite thumbs down on the government giving money
Okay.
to people. So
Okay, Brian, thank you.
No problem.
All right.
that's not a tax rebate. That's giving back what they stole from your labor.
All right, up next is item 10, staff reports, and Chief, looks like you're up.
We've mentioned it in here. Last Tuesday, Dayron started in the domestic violence, sexual assault investigator's position, and she's already picked up 3 cases in the sexual assault arena, and then we had that felony domestic last weekend, and she's working it. She's going right to town with it. I think it was a very good choice that we hired her for patrol, but she moved right into that position. And Bobby Adler, he started with Nate up at the schools, and so far, all I've heard is positive things. Yeah, I mean, today we were having a meeting, and both of them wore a dark blue shirt, dark pants, so we were wondering if they were trying to twin each other to make sure that we'd confuse people up at the school. So, but they kind of look like twins today, one with glasses and one without. The other thing is, in the last week or 10 days, a lot of cars been getting ripped off. They're not breaking into them. I mean, every time I bring it up, I sound like a broken record. But people are leaving their cars unlocked, you know, with valuables in there. So I wish we could catch them, but we can't. And, you know, if the community would lock up their cars, it'd make it a little bit more difficult for them guys to get into those vehicles. So, pretty much all I have. Any questions?
Council? No? Thanks, Chief.
Great.
Appreciate it. All right, museum report.
Pass these out first. I had a question though. What's that? What about all those homeless people?
We didn't have a plan early enough. Sounds sort of familiar for me, for you guys. The guy in the front is not Ned Nearing. It's the photographer, but it's part of the story. So I got the other piece behind that. And they came really well apart, so that one.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
Stand up here. I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, just briefly about a little bit about the museum and where we were at with our attendance. So it is down significantly for year to date. So anywhere from 50 to 60%. But the one positive part, being closed for 2 to 3 months, is a huge part of that. And again, the people coming in, but it wasn't down as much for the summer as what it had been. From the time Paul came, so that's going 4.5 years ago or so now, he had really worked on the concept that you try to get the donations per visitor, so we made several changes to do that since we don't have an admission except donation. And then also the gift shop, what people were buying and what was available. So in August, that was $2.36 for each person that came in that would donate when it sort of averages what's given at the door. And then the gift shop was at $6.33. So it sort of makes a sort of a raw estimate of $5.85 per person that comes into the museum. So that was an all-time high. That was just one of those things that was the positive piece of what was really coming from. It's just our revenue pieces are down somewhat because of COVID and what we had not been able to do with new exhibits and some things like that. So I don't know if I'll go down through all of this, and then if you have questions. The next thing that this guy is, we were up at Little Snake, a couple of different things. There was one individual in bags that has a pretty amazing collection of sort of fur trade items that he's collected over a lifetime. So we were up looking at those about 10 days ago. But then we stopped at another long-term family up there. And I don't remember talking about this before, but one of the first things this guy did, and then later on his son brought up, because he came over, he brought up the kind of condition that the museum was in financially. Because they had evidently talked, I'm not sure they were in agreement on this issue at all, but they had talked about something that they were talking about loaning to the museum. They weren't going to have any part whatsoever of doing that when there was a question with the museum's feasibility and financial stability. And so once we talked about where we were at, what the city council had done, that completely changed, first with the older gentleman, the father, and then with the son. So this is actually a picture of Joseph Morgan. He actually is the first sheriff of Routt County. So he was appointed in early 1877 by Governor Routt, because Routt was the first governor of Colorado, the last territorial governor of Colorado, and they named Routt County after him. Somebody was trying to be in good shape with the governor, I guess. But he appointed then Joseph Morgan as the first sheriff. I don't know the politics behind that one. But anyway, this guy and his brother had run an Indian trading post on the Yampa River around the Elkhead area from about 1873 on to 79 at the time of the massacre. And so he really is one of the first businessmen that was ever, involved as far as that, certainly different. And it's sort of the end of the fur trade era, because really it was all about trading furs and whatever. And I noticed some other things, the beadwork, some other stuff that would go back and forth on the reservation. And the only reason that what would be Moffett and now Routt were not part of the Ute reservation was because they drew that line. It's basically our county line between Moffett and Rio Blanco today, and it wasn't in there. That was something from 1868. So these guys were sort of very well liked. They had been freighters also from Fort Steele into the Indian Agency at Meeker, what would later become Meeker or near Meeker. So anyway, this individual, these two guys had his first Morgan's Sharps model 1875 rifle. So it's a 45-70. And it was actually shipped out of the factory to, of all places, Cincinnati, nothing to do with Colorado at the time, but it was shipped in August 20th of 1877. So anyway, it's actually Morgan's rifle that ties back, and they also have a pair of cuffs that can really tie back to the time of first sheriff. So you're dealing with coming up, 140 some years ago. So it's just a completely different time and place for what this culture is. And the only reason that was really possible, and that's happening on a number of different things, as far as the museum and the things that people are bringing in to give to the museum, just because of the stability that they now see about the museum. So that's just something I sort of wanted to bring up. I don't know if we'll do one more thing, I guess, again. Maybe I should go backwards. Anybody have any questions about that? It's a 5-year loan from this individual as far as the gun goes. But we have a couple of things from the first sheriff of Moffett County, which was really cool, his badge. If there was a badge for this individual, they don't have it, as far as one of the things go. But he was known to be extremely stout as far as the time frame. I guess he was like 6'2" and weighed 210 pounds, which the average male was like 5'6" in the time period of the 1870s. So he was a very substantial individual. And evidently that might have been one of the reasons that they hired him, for sheriff. Not anybody was going to argue with him too much to do with that. So the next thing is, I think I'll just sort of read it. It's a press release. They've asked me about the watercolor, and that really has sort of moved into place here in the last few days. So I'll just read it out, and I've got a couple of extra copies if anybody's wanting one. The world's largest fine art watercolor to be painted in Craig, Colorado. The Museum of Northwest Colorado commissions local artists for record-breaking painting. The Museum of Northwest Colorado, in partnership with renowned local artist Israel Holloway, are beginning stages of creating what will be the world's largest known watercolor painting. With the uncertainty currently facing Craig and Moffett County, we wanted to create something that had a real impact for our community. And the museum assistant, Paul Knowles, Our hope is that this project will open people's eyes around the nation to our amazing community as we move forwards with a new future. The final watercolor will be 16 by 10 feet and reside as the main focal point within the museum walls. The museum's current largest known watercolor hangs in Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art and is 15 by 8, making the new mural 40 square feet or 33% larger. It is also an honor to be included in the museum and certainly a challenge to create a piece of this scale, says Israel Holloway. I want to try to create something that represents our local heritage, connects people to the museum's Western collection, and shows the power and beauty of real living West that still exists today. Holloway, a resident of Craig, grew up in the Yampa Valley and began painting full-time in 2010. He previously taught painting, drawing, and 2D design courses at Colorado Northwestern Community College. His work has won numerous awards and was featured in Coors Western Art Exhibit and also selected for the prestigious Russell exhibit to benefit the C.M. Russell Museum on September 12th. During the multiple-month process that will commence towards the end of September, the public is invited to participate by viewing the work in progress in person at the museum. The museum also plans to provide a live internet feed to provide access to the process around the world. The new mural will be replacing the current mural that has hung in place for nearly 30 years. Upon completion, the current mural will be moving and rehung, and I'm going to say the Yampa building. We've talked to the chamber on several different locations potentially for it at the Yampa. Funding the mural was approved by the Moffat County Local Marketing District in July of 2020, and that was pretty much, they offered to pay for the whole thing. That wasn't something that the museum's going to be putting in. So on Friday, they actually moved the cases out in front of the stage area where the mural's hanging, and very nicely today, the city crew, along with Parks and Rec guys, came and we're done. They actually put up a ladder. We didn't talk to you at all about that. But Jeremy was great. Even on his day off, he just called and a couple of guys came, and so we took the current mural off and it's sitting there waiting to sort of be disassembled and put the other one, as it's going to be done in place there on the floor. So it's actually moving at this particular point to get some start. So we'll have a little disorganization on the floor there for a while, but it is going to be something different. And, so any questions on the above? Everybody else was extremely short tonight, so pretty bad if I'm the longest one.
You are.
It's not over.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was worried that this was going to be the watercolor.
No.
First.
No. It just, I did it because I did a little talking with somebody that's sitting over here, and I was going to bring the gun, but I didn't want to break any city ordinances or cause any problems, so it was just easier not to bring it. So if you'd like to come by and look at it, you're welcome to do that. You know, it's just a completely different time and place that gun represents compared to what we would think of today. And, you know,
That is neat.
Great addition to the
Yeah,
collection.
that'll be great.
Yeah.
I am curious why Trevor had a problem with you bringing that gun down here.
I don't know why he did either.
Seems
Aren't
odd,
we an
but-
open carry or?
Yeah, it's weird.
It is one of the old calibers you could still get ammunition for, but considering we really aren't going to operate it or use it, I wasn't going to put anything in it for sure. You know, it is not going to be used at all. So, anything else?
Thank you very
We're
much.
not at budget times. You got to bring a loaded rifle.
Yeah, giant persuader.
Never thought of that either. Never thought. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, up next, city manager, city attorney reports.
Thanks, Dan, that was informative. How short are you? How short is your revenues this year to date?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I didn't think about that one today. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Well, we're looking at a COVID relief grant for the museum if that qualifies for some of that shortfall. So if you can get back to us on that.
And I actually do have those numbers from Paul. So.
Okay. When Jerry Holberg was here, I had looked at this earlier and I forgot to point it out. On item 8, he has the term of the intergovernmental agreement with the airport as the first day of January 2015. And it's a 5-year agreement, so I assume that it may have expired. And it's kind of odd that this agreement is signed on 2018. I mean, it runs from 2015 to 2020, but I guess maybe we. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, we might have to go back and,
Shows that it starts the first day of January 2015 and continues for 5 years.
Right,
So it would expire at the end of this year.
right.
at the end of this year, that's
So
right.
And it says that it can be renewed for another 5 years.
Okay.
So I would assume they take Catalina City.
Right.
It's probably something they want to have signed before the end of the year, I would assume. Be my best guess. I'll, if you guys don't reach out to him, I'll ask him at the next airport board meeting, but you might want to reach out to him because our next airport board meeting could be after it expires. Yeah, true, we could just hold out. Call that disjointed services.
We've had some of those on occasion.
Is this for action tonight? Because it's listed on the agenda.
I don't think it was for action, just for review.
Yeah,
Right.
It was in presentation.
We just had a presentation on the.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah. Okay,
Okay, the other thing, we moved the EDC meeting back to the 28th. You may have gotten notification from Melanie today on that. And we wanted to do that so that we could have time to receive blight study proposals from 2 contractors and urban development proposals. And so we'll have that available, I think, by the 28th. It looks like that can happen. In the meantime, I think we're also meeting this Friday to review the COVID relief grants at 8:30 in the morning. So far, we received, we have received $137,000 in requests. So we're getting close to maxing out, I think, assuming they're all qualified, and the committee approves the grant requests. We did receive, Bruce has informed me, we received reimbursement on our first submission. So that happened in pretty short time frame.
yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks or less? Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's good news. We, as you know, we submitted the EDA grant last week. We received confirmation that it has been received and is under review. We also submitted a grant, Ready Grant to DOLA for the EDC Economic Coordinator position, Priorities Coordinator. The review of those grant applications will happen sometime after September 17th. So looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with our grant application. If it's successful, we'll look at advertising for that position for the next 2 years. We're also in the process of preparing 2 more DOLA grants for the October 1st cycle. One is, we have to get it in now. One is for a pipeline project for the water treatment or sewer plant at this point. I guess we'll make that decision. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll be, so that's a Tier 1 grant application. We're looking at a Tier 2 grant application for the regional solar garden. And if that doesn't happen this cycle, we'll probably be retasking that Tier 2 request for something at one of the utilities. Heather has also recently presented a grant application for restorative justice. We could glean up to $25,000 if the grant is successful. That's due October 15th, so we'll have to look at that, and we haven't started thinking about that too much in terms of how we position that grant. Our next half-day budget process is going to be September 24th at the Yampa building next week. And we've had a couple of encouraging.
Next week.
week, is it? Already?
Yeah,
Or
week
2
after.
weeks, okay.
2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right, 2 weeks. We've had 2 significant meetings in the last week and a half with developers. One is out of Colorado Springs and the other out of Las Vegas, and both encouraging. I can't go into the details, but it looks like some activity is picking up throughout town, especially on commercial properties and some residential, so that's encouraging. Any questions? Okay.
Council?
When was the, will you hear about the USDA, the river corridor?
That's EDA.
EDA,
Yeah.
what did I say, USDA, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be,
Too many acronyms, yeah.
I'm guessing that'll be sometime late October.
Late October.
Yeah. And we're trying to position that grant for 80% match, so that we're only looking at 20% contribution to that project. And if we hit all the points, it could be anywhere from 50 to 80%. If it's 50%, that's going to jeopardize the project. If they only afford us 50% match on that 2.7 million project that we've requested. But if the CARES Act funding is expended, there's another, Trent Thompson with EDA has said there's another way to position that grant as a coal-reliant community, and the impacts of that could also allow us to be awarded a 80% match grant for that project. So,
And when's the Brownsfield resubmittal?
Brownfield grant has to be in by end of October.
Well, you're never ending on grants, are you?
Yeah, we got our share lined up right now. Yeah. So,
But I think the community needs to know how successful you have been and how much grant money you've pulled together for the community in the last couple of years. So.
yeah, it's been several million here
Yeah.
in the past 2.5 years. So, anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Peter.
Heather?
So to follow up with Peter on what he said, I was able to finally have a phone conference with Restorative Justice Colorado. It was pretty informative. He just gave me some general overview points on what their program has to offer, but they're very supportive in implementing programs around the state. He's actually going to facilitate a meeting with the city of Fort Collins, because obviously you can have restorative justice operated in a variety of different fashions. It can be run through the school district, it can be run through the city, it could be run through the police department. So really Fort Collins runs theirs through the city, and so they're a city-based model, but they've been very successful. He also forwarded me the potential for the grant money, which would be really nice to receive up to $25,000 to try to implement that kind of program here in the community if we decide we want to go that direction. Again, working with Peter on some URA stuff. Obviously, the water issues are never ending. So I can't remember if the call on the river had happened after or prior to the last city council, but we dealt with the call on the Yampa River, which was kind of a, not a shock, but something that was unwelcome to everybody around here. So we're continuing to deal with the deep cut ditch issues and just Craig's water rates in general. And then I've started to draft a revision of the code with regard to the nuisance situation, so we can try to implement something new and start to get a handle on what's happening here locally with regard to breaking into vehicles or properties that are being, just taken over basically by people that we certainly don't want to take them over, and try to prevent even some of the downtown businesses from, becoming a place, for instance, the brewery that you all didn't intend for it to become. So hopefully we'll have some changes in the near future and try to start heading off that situation as well. So pretty busy.
Good.
Anxiously waiting for the nuisance ordinance.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Councilman Nichols.
pretty simple tonight. City budget workshop, just appreciates all the department heads showing us their vision for 21 and 3 to 5 years down the road. I know it's a lot of work on your part, but, you know, it helps council, you know, plan for the future too, what we're looking at. Attended a personnel employee benefit meeting. Main focus of that, how to share the health insurance projected increases for next year. You know, I think working with Peter and staff, we have a solution that can be workable for everybody. Airport triennial mass casualty drill, I participated in that. You always learn things from these drills. They're not very fun to do, participate in, but you always learn, and I think that's about it. Pretty short and simple.
Wow, sir.
Does anybody
That's
have a noise
amazing.
maker?
Yeah, I know, right? You're awesome. Mr.
Yeah,
Nichols.
thanks, yeah. They get a raise?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Here. All right, Councilman James.
Let's see actually Candy was already here, so I've been at the DBA meetings and they're planning for Oktoberfest, which I'm looking forward to. It'll be nice if that's warmer this year. Budget meeting, looking forward to the next one. That's always pretty fun. No, it's not. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got, so.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
I do kind of enjoy the budget meetings.
All right.
I just don't want to put that out.
You don't admit it. All right.
You like it.
Councilwoman Camp.
I really haven't attended many meetings other than the budget workshop, but I do have Moffett County Tourism Association tomorrow afternoon, and then LMD meeting this week on Thursday. So
Okay.
that's it.
Wow. Councilman Boyer.
Yeah, I set the trend.
I'm taking up all your time.
Oh, great.
Thanks, Tony.
No, I just got, the city budget meeting was great. I'm hoping to make to the next one. There's a conflict there, but I'll do our best. The only other thing I have is October 14th is, we are gonna plan on having that softball meeting. I got it scheduled with the Chamber of Commerce. So we're gonna be putting it out on Facebook. It's at 6 o'clock. I did volunteer, the city's gonna buy finger food and drink, so, Bruce, if you could come up with that budget, that would be fantastic.
Petty cash, Bruce, petty cash.
Petty cash, whatever, slush fund, whatever you wanna do. Anyway, so we're gonna blast it on Facebook and try to get as many people there at 6 o'clock as we can. And, I believe we're gonna try to get, me and Lenny are meeting, or Lenny and I are meeting here pretty quick, and gonna try to he's gonna start it off with a brief history of softball fields, that kind of stuff, and then we're gonna come back in and we'll talk about the future, and then just kind of open it up to see what kind of reaction we get. And if not a bunch of people show up, we'll blast that on Facebook and say, here was your opportunity to talk about, saying that we don't have anything to do. Here's your opportunity to come and talk to us about it. So that will be October 14th, 6 p.m. It's a Wednesday night at the Chamber of Commerce. And so, other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilman S.
Not much. I think we have our next charter review meeting on Monday of next week.
Is that right?
I think that sounds about right. And like everybody else, not a lot of meetings. That was my first budget visionary meeting, which was quite interesting. I had to leave in the middle because of work, but looking forward to budget.
Yeah.
I like the one where we fight.
Yeah.
I like that. Is it arm wrestling or how do we?
Mostly verbal.
Mostly verbal.
What time that meeting?
That is a good question. I want to say it's at noon, but don't quote me. Trying to find the invite. 11:30 on Monday.
11:30 to 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I do not have anything to contribute that you guys have not already spoke of. It has been the weirdest last 2 weeks of very few meetings. So.
Motion to adjourn.
Great. Nicely done.
I did get to watch a bunch of those seeds drop though.
I did.
These last 2 weeks.
That's wolf pups. Why didn't you tell me I got so
Where?
Yeah, so